The Atlantic Ocean, 1944, a battlefield without borders, where the surface hides a war fought in darkness and silence. Beneath the waves, German U-boats prowl like wolves, hunting allied convoys that carry the lifeline of nations. Above, destroyers race through the swells, their crews scanning the horizon, listening for the telltale echo that means death lurks below. This is the Battle of the Atlantic, a struggle so vast, so relentless, that Winston Churchill himself would later confess it was the only thing that truly frightened him during the entire war. For 3 years, the ocean has been stained with oil and blood. Thousands of merchant ships rest on the seabed, their crews entombed in steel coffins. The U-boats are winning. But the Allies are adapting, learning, evolving. New technologies emerge from the laboratories of war: radar that pierces the night, sonar that turns the ocean transparent, depth charges that rain down like thunder from above. The hunters are becoming the hunted. And in this changing tide of war, one encounter will stand apart from all others, a moment so close, so violent, so impossibly desperate that it will be spoken of in hushed tones for generations. April 1944. The HMS Hesperus cuts through heavy seas off the coast of Iceland. She's a destroyer, 300 feet of British steel and determination, her hull scarred by years of continuous combat. Her captain is a man they call the U-boat killer, Donald McIntyre, a commander whose name is whispered with fear in the cramped quarters of German submarines. He has already sent 5 U-boats to the bottom. He is hunting his 6th. The crew moves with practiced efficiency, their faces weathered by salt spray and sleepless nights. They've survived too many close calls to feel invincible, witnessed too many ships die to feel safe. Every man knows the statistics. In these waters, life expectancy is measured in missions, not years. The radar operator stares at his green glowing screen, watching for the blip that never appears in the same place twice. The sonar operator listens through his headphones, filtering the cacophony of the ocean for that one sound, the mechanical heartbeat of a submarine trying to hide. Then, contact. It's faint at first, almost lost in the ambient noise of the sea. But it's there. Something moving below, something massive, something trying very hard not to be heard. McIntyre doesn't hesitate. He's fought this battle before, knows its rhythms like a dancer knows music. The Hesperus turns, her engines roaring to full power, her bow slicing through 12-foot swells. The hunt has begun. Below the surface, in the claustrophobic interior of U-191, Commander Hans-Joachim Brands realizes his nightmare is becoming real. The hydrophones have picked up the destroyer as propellers, that distinctive thrashing sound that means death is coming fast. He orders a crash dive, taking his boat deeper, trying to slip beneath the thermal layer where sonar cannot reach. The submarine groans under the pressure as she descends past 200 feet, past 300. The crew is silent. In a submarine under attack, silence is survival. But McIntyre has done this too many times to be fooled. He knows the tricks, anticipates the desperate maneuvers. The Hesperus tracks the dive, adjusts course, positions herself directly above her prey. The depth charge crews stand ready, sweating despite the freezing Atlantic air, hands on the releases. McIntyre gives the order. The ocean erupts. The depth charges tumble off the stern, sinking rapidly into the dark water. Then, in sequence, they detonate. The explosions are massive underwater, creating shock waves that compress water into a weapon more devastating than any bullet. Inside U-191, the world becomes hell. Light bulbs shatter. Gauges explode. Men are thrown against steel bulkheads. The submarine's hull flexes and groans, rivets popping like gunshots. Water begins spraying from a dozen ruptures. In the engine room, a machinist screams as steam scalds his arms. The lights flicker and die, plunging the boat into absolute darkness, broken only by emergency lanterns that cast grotesque shadows. Brands knows his boat is dying. He has one chance, one desperate gamble that goes against every instinct of submarine warfare. He orders emergency surface. It's a death sentence. Surfacing into the guns of a destroyer but staying below is certain death. At least on the surface, there's a chance, however slim, however terrible. The U-boat breaches like a wounded whale, her gray hull breaking through the waves less than 500 yards from the Hesperus. The distance is nothing. Point-blank range. Both crews see each other in the pale morning light, and for a frozen instant, time stops. Then instinct and training take over, and the killing begins. The Hesperus opens fire immediately. Her 4-inch guns pivot and roar, sending high explosive shells across the water at nearly flat trajectory. The first salvo misses, geysers of white water erupting around the submarine. The second doesn't. A shell punches through the U-boat's conning tower, exploding inside, killing everyone in the control room instantly. But U-191 has teeth too. Her deck gun crew, the men who survived the depth charging, scramble up through the hatches, manning their weapon even as shells scream overhead. They're dead men, and they know it, but they're German sailors, and they will not die without fighting. The deck gun barks once, twice. A shell hits the Hesperus amidships, tearing through steel plate, detonating in a crew compartment. 4 men die before they can scream. Fire breaks out, black smoke pouring from the wound. But the destroyer has far more guns, far more men, far more firepower. The exchange is brutally one-sided. McIntyre orders full speed ahead. He's going to ram. It's the oldest tactic in naval warfare, turned into modern brutality. The Hesperus accelerates, her bow lifting from the water, a 3,000-ton steel battering ram bearing down on the crippled submarine. On U-191, Brand sees what's coming and knows there's no escape. He orders abandon ship, even though he knows most of his crew won't make it out in time. The collision is catastrophic. The destroyer's bow strikes the U-boat just behind the conning tower with the force of a freight train hitting a car. Metal screams. The submarine's pressure hull buckles and tears. Men still inside are crushed or drowned as water floods in through the massive breach. The Hesperus rides up and over the dying submarine, her propellers chewing through steel and flesh. The ocean turns red. When the destroyer clears, U-191 is broken in half, both sections sinking rapidly. Men thrash in the water, trying to swim in the freezing Atlantic, knowing they have minutes before hypothermia kills them. The Hesperus deploys nets and lines, pulling survivors aboard, not enemies now, just sailors who fought and lost. 17 Germans are saved. 34 go down with their boat. McIntyre stands on the bridge, watching the oil slick and debris field that marks another grave. There's no triumph in his eyes, no satisfaction. Just exhaustion and the knowledge that tomorrow, or the next day, he'll do this again. Because the war goes on. The convoys must get through. The U-boats must be stopped. This is what it meant to fight in the Atlantic, not glory, not honor. Just steel on steel, men on men, desperation, and violence at ranges so close you could see the faces of those you killed. This was the moment when two warships met at point-blank range, and only one survived. This was the war beneath the waves, where courage and terror were the same thing, and every battle could be your last. The ocean keeps its secrets. But the stories survive, testaments to men who fought in the most brutal naval campaign in history, where the only rule was survival, and the only certainty was that the sea would claim its due.